there were a lot of international treaties and agreements between all of these mega political factions about how and why and where they could be involved in the Vietnam War. A lot of those, a significantly high number of those negotiations involved the small country of Laos.
Okay, so where Laos is located, at least at the time, there was a lot of communist influence in the area. We're talking Vietnam, we're talking China, we're talking Soviet Russia. But of course, the United States carries a lot of influence as well, saying no communist activity in the entirety of the region. So Laos says, on paper, hey guys, we're going to remain independent. We're going to stay away from this. We don't want any warring factions in our country. We're writing it down. But of course, we all know the difference between what is said publicly, politically, and what really goes on behind the scenes.
So North Vietnam, who was being supplied by Soviet Russia and Communist China, they needed a way to supply their communist troops occupying southern Vietnam. The only way to do that, because they could not go through the demilitarized zone, they could not go through American-controlled upper regions of the country, they bypassed all those borders by creating a hiking trail, essentially is what it was, through the Laotian Mountains, through the mountains of Laos. Today we know this trail as the Ho Chi Minh Trail. It was named after one of the leaders of the North Vietnamese faction.
So the question now for the USA, how do we keep tabs on the Ho Chi Minh Trail through the Laotian Mountains? How are we supposed to support US troops and anti-communist troops in different parts of Vietnam without official military presence in Laos? The answer they came up with? Air America.
Air America was operated as a private enterprise. The reality is that it was operated by the CIA. The CIA was receiving their orders and receiving their funding from the US Department of Defense, the State Department. Those pilots would be brought over to Laos and they would fly a variety of really stressful and really important air missions. But because they were doing it under the Air America broadhead, they were considered civilian pilots.
And one of those pilots was Bill LeCount.
LeCount actually grew up in Billings. His family moved here when he was 9 years old. He graduated from Billings Senior High School. He wrestled and played football and ran track. He was a lifeguard downtown. And after just a year or so of college here in Montana, he joins the Air Force. He flew those giant airplanes that refueled fighter planes in the middle of the air, which, because these planes were ginormous, they were full of fuel, and they are what made it possible for fighter pilots to travel longer distances. They became the biggest target in the air. As an Air American pilot, he went from this ginormous plane to a Porter. He went to a small engine aircraft. That aircraft was stripped of everything. It was literally a joystick, his chair, and open space.
Because Bill's family donated a wealth of information to the Western Heritage Center, we were able to see just how many flights Bill made in the area. On record, they're called hard rice shipments and soft rice shipments. Soft rice would be food, milk, important things like that for people in the region. Hard rice would be ammunition, gasoline, important things like that for people in the region.
And they flew search and rescue. There are over 100 known successful search and rescue missions that originated from Air America pilots spotting those downed aircraft. By the early 1970s, the US started heavily pulling out troops and cutting funding, including to Air America. In fact, when South Vietnam falls in April of '75, those photographs that you see of the embassy workers crowding into the helicopters, those are Air America pilots. Those are not US military pilots. That is Air America aircraft, because Air America is the only one left.
But the thing is, none of those pilots received veterans care, veterans benefits for their time spent with Air America.
LeCount died in October of 2018, and even at his death, his other Air America pilots celebrated his work and what he had done with them. Today, with the release of these Air America documents from the State Department, it is recognized that the U.S.'s long-term success in Laos is a direct result of Air America pilots. That U.S. had any kind of success in Laos is because of those pilots who worked there, including Bill LeCount.